Welcome back, everybody, to Buckeye Bar Guys here on Buckeye Bar Talk. I'm Mike.
And I'm John.
Tonight's date is Sunday, November 20th, 2022. And we are into Thanksgiving week, better known as Hate Week for Michigan. Hate Week, and thank for us Buckeye fans. It is, you know, we will appreciate everything we have on Saturday or on Thursday, and then we will hope for the demolition of Wolverines on Saturday.
Yeah.
Basically, plan for this week is we are going to kind of break this down into 3 episodes this week, or attempt to. So tonight is just going to be pretty quick. We're just going to close the door on Maryland, and then just give out any possible concerns we have heading into Michigan. Then we will do kind of a Tuesday later in the evening show after the rankings come out, talk rankings, and then start getting into the Michigan conversation. And then our later episode later in the week will be all Michigan as we get ready for the big one on Saturday. As both teams are undefeated, we're assuming that they will still be number 2 and number 3 in the rankings. So this will be a pretty huge one. As I saw yesterday, I believe they said this is the 12th time that they've met each other when they've both been in the top 5, which is the most all time for a pairing. And I think they said it was like the 20th time that both schools have been undefeated heading into this game. So that's it's pretty impressive. Everything comes down. Usually, as Big Ten people know that have been around this for a long time, this has been, the de facto conference champ. So, it's gonna be no different this year. It seems like.
Yeah. I'm getting some mic issues from you, so some of that didn't come through, but
Okay. Well, hopefully it went through. So,
so
I don't know. I don't know what's going on over here. I mean, everything's normal.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if it's on me or what, but I keep getting some clicking noise. So, hopefully we get everything, else done. Okay. So, yeah. So Maryland, let's just, we'll wrap this up. Just be done with them. So they outgained Ohio State by a yard, which that doesn't normally happen, but at least it was only 1 yard. Defense wasn't great. They gave up 318 in the air, only 84 on the ground, so that was pretty good. It was a weird game, It's like I think they just wanted to get out of there, and they did. I mean, they got the win 43-30, but definitely was more stressful than what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, it seemed like probably that kind of similar to the Northwestern game. It was like, I'm not worried about the passing defense yet, just because, like I said, that game I wasn't worried about the rushing defense because they really haven't shown it all year. I mean, Maryland gashed them a lot in this game, but there's not really another game to really show that up to that so much so far this year. So I'm not too concerned. So, but I guess we'll see, as this week goes. But if that's the approach, hey Michigan, you're gonna have to beat us through the air. We're not gonna let you run on us. That I think that's probably the approach they need to take. So
yeah, right. I mean, yeah, I agree. Like if I feel confident if that's how Michigan has to beat you, if they try to throw with Ohio State, I would feel pretty good about that.
Yeah. It was a weird game just all around. It's like, they start off on fire. They go right down the field. I mean, they throw a beautiful touchdown pass to Trey Henderson. It's like, okay, now Ryan Day's going to throw the running back passing game onto paper to let Michigan see that. But it's like, so it just seems like, right after watching Michigan struggle with Illinois, it's like, well, we're not going to struggle today. We're going to be in and out of here fast. We'll be maybe watching some of the other 3:30 games, here, come halftime. But that wasn't the case. Started slowing down a lot in the first half. It seemed like Trey re-aggravated whatever. I mean, obviously he's not healthy, but whatever was bothering him on his foot seemed like it got worse after the touchdown pass. And then he was just not himself. Similar to kind of like he's been all year. It's just that obviously that's bothering him, and they just could not get anything going. CJ wasn't bad, but he wasn't great neither in, throwing the ball. And, they just kind of let Maryland hang in there a little bit. And, the first half, yeah. I mean, so it's what, 13-10 they're beating us at halftime, so
right, yeah.
yeah. So I started off great, and then it just got really sluggish. And the first half, and at the halftime is made some changes. Hayden's pretty much the starting running back for the second half. The defense looks pretty intense in the third quarter, and it's like, okay, we're back to controlling this game. But they're really equating that to, I mean, they score, yeah, they score 17 points to nothing in the third quarter. So it's like, okay, game's over. And then so much of those passing yards, that Maryland has comes in the fourth quarter. They just start dominating and, throwing the ball. And, you just sort of we just got to stay ahead of the chains or stay ahead of the scoreboard and, don't drop it below 7 or whatever. And then that stupid freaking, they go for 2, the Buckeyes, get a penalty, should have still went for 2, and then get the extra point blocked, and Maryland returns it for 2, and now it's a 10-point game. Now they have now it seems like they have a pathway to where they actually could win the game. So, and then it was just back and forth from there. And it was, I don't know.
Yeah, I know it was crazy. I mean, good way to end it, at least. They ended up sneaking out there with a double-digit win, so they kept that streak alive because we've won every game so far by double digits this year. So that was good. Didn't love giving up 30 to them, but like I said, it was just a weird game. Like their offense, they went tempo the fourth quarter, and they just couldn't handle it.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, it's crazy to think, they only have. I mean, it's 13-10 at the half, and then 17-0 us in the third quarter, and then it's just such a crazy fourth quarter, and it's just they beat us by 1 point in the fourth quarter, and it's just you just, it's weird. Usually you get in that Penn State game, I had the feeling, it's you have the feeling going into the fourth quarter, oh, I don't know if this is gonna be good this day. I don't know if this is gonna go all the way to the end of the game, and then it's nowhere they explode for the points, and then for this game, it's going into the fourth quarter, I'm yeah, it was a little difficult at first, but they've taken over. Game's over, and game wasn't over. It wasn't
No.
it was a.
Yeah, I know it was nail biter, but glad to get out of there. Okay, so I mean, let's talk players of the game. Offensively, I would say, I mean, I got to give it to Dallin Hayden.
Yeah, I'm not gonna even try to think of a second one. I'm gonna agree with you on that one.
And defensively, I think that a lot of guys did some really good things, like Ransom. He had another punt block. He made 3 plays in a row. But I got to give it Zach Harrison. I mean, he just ended the game. So, he had the 2 sacks right in a row.
Yeah, I was thinking of going Zach. Like you said, there's a lot of things we could go for. I think I think Eichenberg had a pretty good game in the running game. A little shaky in the passing game.
Yeah,
Latham, I would say Latham for me was the player. He was just all over the field. I mean, that series where he gets the punt block, I mean, he makes a play on every 3 of the defense.
Right.
So, it was a series where Zach Harris series. So, yeah. I agree that those were probably the 2. JTT had a good game. Sawyer had a pretty good game. I really like where the defensive line's coming from right now, that they seem like they are pretty well establishing themselves here at the end of the year. And, they've built up to this, and, they're making a lot of plays. The secondary, there was some, question marks. It seemed like Maryland kind of gashed us a lot in the middle. But for overall, I think the corners are getting the corners. They've had a long road this season because of all the injuries, but I feel like that they're playing at a much better level. I think the safeties have all been playing at a good level. It's just, this was probably the first game this year where we really saw that, and it could have also been that it seemed like they were really finding openings in the zone. So, like, part of me is thinking, like, I'm wondering if they just were kind of playing a very vanilla zone a lot of the game, especially in the middle of the field. Maybe just, I mean, I don't know. Again, throw some stuff on paper. Just, maybe they're gonna try to use some of that stuff to, trick Michigan here on
Yeah,
Saturday, which is a possibility.
sure. Yeah, I agree with that. So lingering concerns. I mean, I don't know. I think that would probably be my only concern. Really, is just defense right now. How they defended the middle of the field. I mean, cornerbacks still kind of concern me with those 50-50 balls, but like I said, I just don't see that being a recipe to beat a team like Ohio State, airing it out with them. Um, I mean, I guess if you get it to the fourth quarter and you can hit one of those, then that's where it becomes problematic. But until then, I just don't see, like I said, I don't think it's a recipe to beat Ohio State. But I do like, I know JJ McCarthy, he's a good intermediate to short passer, and he can extend plays with his legs. And it just seemed like any time that the plays got extended by Talia, he was able to hit, someone in the middle of the field. So
Yeah.
hopefully, like you said, maybe it was just really, really soft, but I don't know. I mean, that's
Well,
worrisome.
some of that stuff, some of the fourth quarter stuff is a little concerning, just because, Talia did keep several plays open, and then either he did it, he pitched it, or he threw it, and so, that is concerning. But I will say the one thing is that, you know, I got a and I get it. You can't necessarily dictate one thing from one game to the next, but I got a much better feel watching Illinois, with JJ, that I have a lot of question marks with his ability to really command a game down the throw. Illinois really took their running game out of it. Once Corum got knocked out of the game, it just was, it was their running game was just not on. They didn't have Edwards neither. And so, JJ struggled in different spots. So I think, again, it just comes down, and we'll get into it here and, for the rest of the week. It's just, you got to bottle up the running game against Michigan. And, I think Ohio State's a much different team. It's, they're a much better team as a one-dimensional team, even though we do need to run the ball. We'll get to that again later in the week. But that I think that I saw some stuff from the Michigan passing game. That's some, like, I don't know. They're just very simplistic, kind of, in the passing game, that, I think that Ohio State could have a lot of advantage to that if they can get them to that one dimension. And, to me, there's some concerns there on defense, but I've felt like, and we'll obviously see it this week. I just don't see where the defense is the Achilles heel that it was last year. That it just, even if they're not at their best, they're still pretty good. So it's like, that's just enough for the offense. And even if the offense is going in spurts, they have some good quarters, bad quarters, you're going to get a 17-0, 21-0 quarter. That's very hard, even if you have a good fourth quarter, to beat that. They're going to be able to, when they can. That kind of proved, at the end of the day for Maryland, is that Ohio State built enough of a cushion in the third quarter that, they just could not overcome that cushion. Right. So, and that's how Ohio State has been in the Ryan Day era, that when they go off, it's like they go off in a quarter or go off in a half. And it's just like, it's like the barrage is just one after another. And that's just the cushion they need to win it. So that was kind of my feelings on, for Maryland. My biggest concern coming into Michigan is going to be the running game. It's just that I think that, and it's a lot of it the health, and honestly, we don't know how Michigan's health is too. So I mean, it's very interesting for both teams. But I think they got to be willing that Dallin Hayden, he's the freshest legs of the bunch, and I know he's not going to be the starter. Mayan and Trey are going to be one of the others, going to be the starter. If they're at least if one of them's healthy. If obviously if neither one's healthy, then it could be Dallin. But
Allen, yeah.
yeah, but if one of them's there, that's the starter. If both of them's there, that's your starter and backup. But if you're not getting what you need to get out of them, I hope that Day realizes that right now your best back is Dallin Hayden. He's just the most freshest. He's the most consistent, probably. I mean, Mayan had a great game last week, but I mean that we just don't know how that ankle sprain's holding a hold up or whatever it ended up being. But it's just I think that they got to be willing to have a quick pull and go to Hayden and at least give him, I don't know, maybe 50% of the running production if he's the one. And then they need to build, in my opinion, they need to build a 200-yard running game. And if you got to build it through all three of them, that's fine. But, they just need to be consistent enough on the ground that, and shut down Michigan's running game as much as possible. And, they should be fine at that point. And I think if they can build between 3 and 4 backs, that they can build almost a 200-yard running game and Stroud gets his through the game, they should win fairly easy going forward. But the running game is the biggest concern right now.
Yeah. I agree.
Like I said, this is going to be pretty short this week. Anything else you really wanted to hit on? I mean, this was going to be quick. We just wanted to give our little dedication to the Maryland win before we really started getting into the Michigan game. So, but I mean,
it wasn't pretty, but
it wasn't pretty. Maryland has athletes. Honestly, if you think about it, top to bottom, I mean, you could argue that offensive talent, they are the second or third best team in the conference. I mean, like, I think they're not us, but I think their receivers are better than Michigan's receivers. We don't see Michigan throw a lot, so I think they're better than Michigan's receivers. Obviously Michigan's running game's better, but they have some really good players on there. And when and he's a good quarterback, and it's just I hope he didn't get too hurt on that last sack. I do want him to see him finish out his season because he had a good game against Ohio State. So
yeah,
you got to appreciate that when you appreciate it. So at the end of the day, it was a double W. Al Davis, just win, baby, win, and that's kind of what it is. And your second place in the playoffs, just got to beat Michigan, whether that's by 1 point or by 50 points. At the end of the day, I would like to see it closer to the 50-point win, but if they squeak out if it's a bloodbath and they squeak out a 20-17 win, I will live with that one too, because that it's just one more win and you're playing for you're going to be in the playoffs, getting a shot to possibly play for the national title.
Yes, very true.
All righty. If there's nothing else, I think we'll just call this a quick night.
Yeah. Last thing is just clean up the penalties too. It was an ugly ass game, man. On both sides, they both had a lot of penalties.
Yeah. Well, at one point they both had 10 penalties and they were both over 100 yards. And I'm just like this God has been an ugly game. So
it was. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Throw the tape out on that one. I'm glad we got this done, but I don't want to talk about that game ever again.
Yeah. All righty.
All right. Well, we'll see you guys later on in the week. Thank you for stopping out tonight to the Buckeye Bar. I'm John.
I'm Mike.
OH.
IO.